Hi, I'm Ginny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here with Cassandra Herbert to talk about her article in the November-December issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. Cassandra, welcome. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you. I'm excited.
What do you want our viewers to know about you?
So let's see. I live in Maryland, land of Piscataway people, and I like to honor the land. It's not something I always have done, but I like to honor that for the people who came before us. And it's always interesting with that question, because I've learned not to say who I am, but
Where am I in this moment, right?
yes, right. So, n holistic nurse, formal psychotherapist, herbalist, and health and wellness coach, holistic coach. And what one of my friends called me was a modern day medicine woman for the busy professional modern day woman. And so I'm learning to breathe that in and feel that. And I'm also a daughter, a wife, and a caretaker of a furry baby, a cat.
Well, I do love that title someone gave you. I think it fits you really well because you and I go way back. We go way back to the earlier days of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. And since you're in Maryland, we've met a lot of times in person, not that long ago. Also, you were at one of my meetings. But I want to, you know, articles end up in the magazine through a variety of ways. Some women will like pitch an idea for an article or a series of articles, and then they'll write them, or others will send me things they've already written or may have been published elsewhere, and we'll decide if it's a fit or not. And then sometimes I get a newsletter. I'm on a lot of email lists, and I'll get a newsletter or a blog, a link to a blog post, and I'll think, oh, that sounds cool. I think that would be a great article for the magazine. And that's what happened with you. You sent a newsletter. Is that what you call it? Do you call it a newsletter?
Yeah. Hmm.
And you had this writing that you did about queen energy, and I really loved it, and I thought it was so would be so helpful for other women to learn about this. So what inspired you? Was there anything in particular that inspired you to write about queen energy?
Yes, it was. It was I think a week or two prior to me sending that out. I was attending, it was by Rosetta Thurman. She was doing a boot camp, a virtual boot camp called Six Figure Queen. It was for entrepreneurs, business women, and she was talking about the difference between princess energy and queen energy regarding like business, but also your life. And so I was like, oh my goodness, so much of it resonated with me that I was like, this I think would really be benefit to my community, the Zest and Harmony community.
Yeah, well, it is, and it will continue to be. In your article, you write that have lived most of your life in princess energy. What did that look like?
Great question. Yeah. So Princess Energy, and for myself as well as many of the women I've worked with, whether, that was as a therapist or even as a coach, how it shows up is I'm going to go back up a little bit is a lot of times I was working with like what I called the superwoman syndrome. So this superwoman syndrome is very related to this princess energy. And that princess energy is that how it showed up for me is, you know, doing things for validation, seeking validations outside of myself, not recognizing my own worth and strength, but getting it from others and doing those things for others. At any cost, not wanting to look quote unquote bad. What that meant is I might not, well, I didn't show up as my authentic self, like not really embodying and claiming that because I didn't want to be perceived a different way. So, not actually speaking my truth. Um, Also, if things didn't go the way I wanted them to, whether that was in life, whether that was in business, whether that was in relationships, then I would get into this spiral of like negativity, but almost victimhood, like
Mm.
not recognizing, okay, I created this. I'm responsible, taking accountability would be like poor. I wouldn't actually say poor me. I would just be like, oh, why is this happening? And it would be in that
Nothing ever
negative.
works out. They don't
Yeah,
want what I have, right? All that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure a
So
lot of women watching this can relate to this. I know I can.
absolutely. So those were some of the ways. There were a lot of different ways, it showed up, but those were like the main ones that it showed up is that victimhood, that seeking validation outside of myself and just not being authentic with not feeling that fear of expressing myself authentically.
Mm, yeah, because you may anger someone. Everyone might not love you, right? I didn't think about this when I read your article, but as you were speaking, it came to me, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, that princess energy is like little girl energy,
Oh yeah, it is.
right?
It's
Little
very
little
much,
girl, I want to stay safe. I'm gonna don't want to displease mommy or daddy, all that kind of, and I can't be the little girl I want to be running around doing crazy stuff because they're telling me to settle down. They're telling me to behave, right?
right,
Right.
right. And you do, and the tantrum is that victimhood, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's oh, it's not working out my way. Oh, da, 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 and then it's really it's really disempowerment, it's like yeah, so absolutely.
And then queen energy is like grown ass woman energy.
Yes, yes, yes. And I love
And
that you say that because that's what I tell you. You're a grown-ass woman.
and you write that when you shifted into queen energy, everything changed. Can you say more about that?
Yes, it really it's funny because it's not a destination, it's a process. Yet you start when I started shifting bit by bit, and I'm still shifting. I'm not going to say I've arrived and I don't go into princess energy because princess energy feels safe. That's the other thing. It feels safe really does to that nervous system. It is a safe where you don't feel you're used to it. So it's been a protective. So I want to tell people also like there's no shame in it because it is a protective energy, And so there's also having that compassion towards yourself, which is queen energy, having that compassion, not shaming and saying, well, wow, bad me, blah, 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 and internalizing that. When I'm trying to go back to when I first kind of yes. So this is probably 10, well, maybe even longer years ago of the first thing was actually being still. Because being still is knowing that in the queen energy, you're knowing who you are and whose you are, that you were created by something bigger, universe, divine, and it is being still. And when I really learned and started meditating, and getting like and tapping into intuition, but I had to be still to do that because a lot of time Prince's energy is very busy of doing what other people are, just this doing busy because ooh, getting still is a little bit scary. It's because
Also getting validated by the doing, not just
yes,
by who you're
right.
acting like you are, but the doing, all kinds of accolades for that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And to just be whoa, and then that there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes up. Oh, I'm being
yeah.
lazy, because I'm sitting still. But that's where the magic, because then I was more in flow. And I know I talk about in the article of being grounded in your, with your heart, your mind, your spirit and your soul, and you're being grounded and being still and taking that time to meditate and allow, that's where the downloads came. That's where I am being guided from some, and I'm remembering who I am because all of us are queens, like we have that energy. it's Prince's energy that has been what I find false narratives, has been what society says, all of this stuff. And when you're really, you get empowered and you make different choices.
Mm. And we talk about how princess energy is kind of rewarded. Did you find that when you started to shift that there were some people who didn't quite resonate with your new queen energy?
You know, you know, abs the, actually not.
Yeah. You probably
I mean, maybe
curated your
like
people pretty well. Yeah.
yeah, they actually, I probably got, oh, let me really think about that. Well, no, because I think even with Princess Energy, it was more of me, me creating that. You know what I mean? Like me
Yeah.
thinking and all of that stuff. So me, stopping and stuff. Maybe more of, I would say maybe, I'm trying to think if anyone did. It was probably more, might have been more family members,
Yeah.
because you're
That's
no
usually the case.
longer doing, playing that role. But I
Mhm.
found when I shifted, other people shifted. And not because I said anything. And it goes back to Queen energy also knows how to give and receive. I
Mhm.
had a very much challenging time receiving for many reasons. One is receiving means you're letting go of control. you know and a lot of times was, and it's funny, my husband and I talked about this when we were actually traveling up a couple weeks ago, is the I was the plant in all my relationships, the plant, but that means I had the control, right? I'm planning for friends, where we're going, how we're getting there. I'm
I'm
driving.
driving.
Yeah.
That was not planned. Oh, that's so
Absolutely.
funny.
Because basically there's no trust, there's none of that. And And then I would complain. Nobody ever plans anything for me. Nobody ever does it. Princess energy, right? Nobody does anything. I know you. And when I shifted that, and that was early on too, that was some years ago. I want to say like 2008, 2000, I don't know, not of allowing people to give to me, like I started getting all kind of stuff. I remember I had to go home, and this would never happen. My mother and my sister paid for my plane ticket. What? I was like, what? I was like, actually, and it's like, it's where like things started coming like to me. I just started attracting different things because I'm letting go, which is interesting, in surrendering and allowing and being open to receive.
Oh, there's so many interesting things to talk about here because, I've been exactly where what you're talking about, and it is a process. It does take time. And, I'm harkening back to, gosh, it's probably been, I want to say 20 years ago, but I remember this moment when I was laying on the couch on a Sunday afternoon, kind of doing this with the remote and watching Law and Order reruns. And my husband, Don, comes into the family room, and I immediately said, I'm not getting anything done today. Like I'm like he was going to judge me, and he doesn't, but I just thought he probably thinks. And he said, it is Sunday. And I realized in this moment, I had this big aha that continued for a while, that I couldn't even commit to watching TV because I felt guilty. So I would surf and watch a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I couldn't commit to turning off the TV and reading a book because then I'm really not doing anything productive, right? I mean, all these rules I'd made up. I have this memory as even a little girl of my mother saying, instead of taking a nap during the day, like let's say during the weekday, she would say, I'm going to go lie across the bed for a little while because, she was a homemaker. That was her job to, she should be awake for, all those hours. And she would have this little throw. She would not ever take the covers down, and she would literally lay diagonally across the bed. And that was a message that I took on. Oh, you're not supposed to, even if I have a full-time job, not supposed to not supposed to not be productive on the weekends, right? So all those messages that we got from women who didn't know any better because they'd gotten those from the women before them, And nobody told me to do that, but we absorb it, don't we? We absorb
Oh, yes.
how it's received by other people. And so we have a right and a wrong way to do life. What do you want to say more about that?
Oh my goodness, yes, yeah. So as you say that, yeah, my so, well, you're talking about your mother. So my grandmother, she would sit in her chair, and I'd be like, I call her Nana. Nana, you're sleeping. Oh no, I'm just resting my eyes.
Mother did that too. I'm resting my eyes.
Resting my eyes, and then I would sleep. I was a like young, I loved to sleep. Even to this day, I love to sleep, but I also love to do things, but I love to sleep. But she used to say, you're gonna sleep your life away. It was so interesting. So there was this whole thing of like earning. I grew up in a religious 7 day Adventist. So you would have to prepare and all that. But even in that religion, even though you're supposed to rest on the seventh day, we would be so active in doing so much in the church. It was, I mean, I would go to choir rehearsal Friday night. It was like Sabbath school. It was all of this. Like, I never rested. It was like, and you got celebrated. The more you've done, like you were like celebrated, like, oh, you're this pillar because you're doing so much, but it was still doing it. Wasn't what I felt like was like actually the rest,
Mhm.
like taking really literally a day off. And so, like you're saying, yes, all of that guilt. Um, I would say even to now, there's a little bit like my husband would be like, it's okay. Like there's something about like, ooh, and especially if I do it for the whole weekend. Whoa. That's a little I think, and he'll be like, it's okay. Like it's it's like I almost you need permission. There's still that little struggle I have of like, okay, or that I have to earn it. Like, was I productive enough this week to actually allow myself to relax?
Mm. It's a bit of a sickness, isn't it? It's-
Yes.
I just had another memory of being a little girl, and I think this also went into my teenage years, but I love summertime. And I remember that first day of waking up after school ended and realizing, and I can hear somebody's mowing their lawn outside. And it's like, I don't have to get out of bed. And I love to sleep too. And my mother, if my friends might come, could Jenny come out and play? And my mother would send them up to my bedroom to wake me up. And I would be so annoyed because I wanted to sleep. What she
Right.
didn't know is sometimes I'd be up really late, like with a flashlight reading a book under the covers or something. So I was exhausted in the morning.
Yeah.
There was this thing that you gotta go do stuff. You've got to go do stuff. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to go out and play, you're going to stay here and help me clean the house. You're going to do something, got to be doing something. So we've learned it. And fortunately, I think my generation of women is the first ones to kind of start to go, I don't know, I think that's messing with me too much. And then your generation of women is carrying that, and you're being a role model for the next generations of women. It doesn't mean that we turn our backs on everything. It doesn't mean, but as an example, I've had on my desire list for probably a decade at least to make Sunday not really a day of rest, but just a day of pleasure.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
to do exactly what I want to do. And it could be with other people. It could be self-care, it could be like total selfish kind of stuff, which I think selfish is great, but not to do any work or anything that unless I really want to, but
Mm-hmm.
not because I'm so busy that I have to work on Sunday. And I'm making this commitment. I said this to someone the other day. That is my commitment for 2025 is to
I love
work
it.
into that. And by the end of the first quarter. I'm going to be in that space. So I'm saying it here. You heard me to actually wake up on Sunday morning and say, huh, or maybe have a commitment, but not feel like I have to get on my computer and do anything because, oh no, I've got all this stuff coming up next week. So it's about managing my life a little differently up front to also allow for that. But that's exciting to me because, I've got a grandchild now. I've got other things going on, and I don't want it to be, oh, I can't do that because I'm too busy, you know. And that busy thing, Cassandra, I wore it as a badge of honor for so many
Mm-hmm.
years. I loved it when people talked about how busy I was and how
Mm-hmm.
how do you get it all done? And I
Right.
would,
Right. And you're
oh,
like, I
I'm just
just
good at that. I'm just good at that.
Right. I just do, and yes, yes, I did too. I did too. And now I actually, um, I had my husband's niece said, "Oh, you just have so much going on," and I almost got annoyed because I thought, "Oh my goodness, I've worked so hard. What do you mean? Like, oh my goodness, is this what I'm showing?" No, like it's like, I- but I also recognize now it's always well, no, I would say recognize now, and this is where that queen energy comes back in, is like you're saying, I'm doing it because I want to, not because I'm trying to receive things or any of that. And evening it out, like of being like, okay, I'm going to relax, or really tuning in, like, that queen energy is like, what are my intentions? What are my intentions? How do I want to live my life? Like you're saying, you have to like prepare. If you're going to do this, then it's a different way of living, get things done, because we still do have to get things done, but you're coming from a different place of like, okay, if I'm embodying this queen, what is it that my heart desires? So is this a hell yes? Like, is this a hell yes of what I'm doing, or is it a no? And it could be a maybe. It could be a maybe, but checking in and being embodied and saying, does this line up for what I want my life to be and the desires I have for my life? And like you're saying, having more pleasure, having more ease, having more fun, having more connections, is having that space for that. And then that might be like, well, no, no, because this doesn't create that.
Mhm. It is something that's helped me to kind of move from the princess energy is if there are things that, we all have to do that we don't particularly love doing. They just have to be done, or they don't get done, or if somebody else does them, it's not their job, it's my job to do,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And if I can embrace the idea that I'm choosing this, I'm full on choosing to do this.
Yes.
And then I can't fall into victimhood because nobody out there is expecting me to, or maybe they're expecting me to, but that's not why I'm doing it. And I can decide not to if it's not serving me. But it's just that difference of taking that control back and going, okay, here's my choices, because we may not like the choice sometimes. Heard somebody say one time, it's the difference between you're standing at a cliff and you got a 15-foot drop or a 10-foot drop. You still got a choice of which one you're going to take. You still got to jump, but you
Yeah.
have a choice of which
Yes.
one. So we always have those choices. And while they don't always look like choices, or we don't like the choices necessarily, we still have the option to make one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, wow, this has been a great discussion, Cassandra. Thank you so much for that. And I want to tell anyone, if you're watching this live or on our YouTube channel, please go to the link in the text of this video to check out the rest of Cassandra's article because she says a whole lot more. We don't want her to tell you everything. We want you to go read the article in the November-December issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. Cassandra, how can our viewers find out more about you?
Um, yes, they can find me. I'm not redoing. I'm having someone else redo my
Good.
website, but if you want to, you can go to zestandharmony.com is my website, and you can sign up to receive, different emails, different newsletters like this. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Zest and Harmony. And or you can, if you want to connect, you can connect with me at Cassandra at zestandharmony.com.
Okay, well, I think all of those, they're not in the video, they're not in the text of the video yet because Zoom limits to how many words we can put in there. I have to go back and edit, but they will be there soon and they will also be on the YouTube channel. So as we wrap this up, do you have a final thought for our viewers about Queen energy?
It's a good question. So much was coming to me. You know, it comes back to that place of compassion. And because you can be listening to this and you can be saying, okay, yeah, I resonate with a lot of that princess energy. And I'm wanting more of that queen energy. And it's that compassion because you can go into that guilt and knowing that and really not doing it all, being like, you read the article, you're like, okay, I'm going to do all this and stuff. And it, like I said, it can be very activating for your nervous system. We have embodied princess energy because of society, because of family, because of it's helped to keep us safe.
Yeah.
It has gotten us that. So honoring that. I mean, princess energy got me doing a lot. Doing productivity has gotten me where I'm at. So I'm not like negating that. And I can be empowered and have that choice of queen energy. And when I tell you the magic that comes along with that. It's just not as much tension and not as much stress, and it flows. And so it's having that, just taking a deep breath and knowing and remembering who you are, remembering that that queen energy is there. We've just forgotten it because of these false narratives that have been told to us.
You have to uncover it, bring it out again.
Yes.
And yes, and so if you're watching this, please honor your princess energy because it has gotten you to this place. And I love what you say, Cassandra, about don't, make one tiny change, do one little thing differently, and that will give you maybe a little insight or a little, oh, that felt kind of good. I'm going to try something else next. Don't try to change everything at one time because I know anytime I've tried to do that, I go into what do they say when you leap out of your comfort zone, you kind of get stretch marks and then you fall back down and
Right, right. It's that
because
expansion and then constriction, and then you go like, so it's really look at it with curiosity.
yes,
Curiosity, like, this is interesting, huh? Like look at like, oh, did my mother or my grandmother or any maternal, people in my lineage kind of like tell me these things. Oh, well, this makes sense while I was, like all of that, and it's just the curiosity and responding with it with love because guess what, that is queen energy.
yeah,
Love,
love,
love, that heart centered energy is queen energy.
Queen of Hearts. Yes. Cassandra, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your wisdom, your heart. I really, really appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And thank anyone watching this, whether you're on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. If you want to watch more interviews with amazing women who are living their lives on purpose and making their unique impact, please go to our YouTube channel. If you're on our YouTube channel, you already know, but check out those other interviews. There's many of them there. We also have our speakers at our On Purpose Women Global Community Zoom gatherings and some other interviews that we do, but it's all women all the time. Thanks so much for watching.